Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is a particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Arwin, Flatsoid, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello.
Hey, good morning.
Happy 1 November.
How's it going?
Very well, it's all going good. Everyone happy? Everyone settled? Everyone warmed up?
Getting there.
Everyone off mute? Probably not, as Righteous Force isn't around. I'll see if I can remedy that while we're asking a few housekeeping questions. So, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
It exists in math.
Do the people still claim the horizon is Earth curve?
Occasionally. Not here. Well, occasionally here.
If you lived on a ball, you would have measurable geometry of said ball.
Yeah, you'd have to have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon if you were on a ball.
Right, so as long as they assume they're on a ball, they will still believe the horizon is the edge of a curve. The edge of a sphere.
No, we've debunked that. Black Swan.
Yeah, but if, you know,
That's
if
John.
the Earth was a ball.
Yeah, that's John's point. If the Earth was a ball, they would and must have a geometric horizon, and they haven't.
Well, that's
So
if
the
you
only
go to
logical-
the really is world.
Yeah, we're talking
The
about the
only
really is
logical
world. Go
conclusion-
ahead, John. Make your conclusion. Owen's determined to ruin it.
The only conclusion you can draw is if you don't measure, it's not real. You don't live on a sphere.
Wait for Owen to jump in.
Yeah, but the model, you know.
Yeah, not really is level yet. Model, yeah, no. We don't live on a model. We don't work at the not really is level. We work at the really is level, and the really isn't a geometric horizon. The really would be if you had an Earth similar to a basketball held up to a flea. The flea would see a geometric limitation to its view at the leading edge of that basketball, beyond which it wouldn't be able to see past. That is a geometric horizon for a flea on a basketball, and Earth has claimed to have that. We don't. The horizon isn't a geometric limitation to your view. Black Swan.
Yeah, but you see the model everywhere, right? You constantly discussed, it's constantly shown, constantly discussed. So yeah, it's kind of difficult to get to that really is level because you're constantly being referenced the model.
Yeah, we live in a
But
world that... Go ahead.
Doesn't that model also keep changing its values?
It's only a model.
I mean, if a model was to be true,
At
then you
best.
wouldn't have to change values.
Models will never be true. That's a reification fallacy.
But it's locally flat.
Yeah, although I've seen it plenty of times, lots of people have mirrored and hacked up and republished a shortened version of Taboo Conspiracy 3 is the channel names. I think it's like 13 videos total. I can't remember the exact number. But originally, shout out to Mitchell from Australia who did this about 10 days ago, and basically took all of those videos and did an hour-long show. Did it live as well. Hats off to you, as always. Had it all queued up and did it live, and played out all those videos with a bit of interaction with the chat in between. He's a great host, actually. I'm a bit envious of Mitchell. That's why I give him a bit of stick when he's on Ballbusters or on the Tuesday show, because it's like, yeah, you're good at what you do. that's epic, and I'm very a little bit jealous. So keep doing what you do, Mitchell. It's epic. But yeah, a few other people have done exactly the same. John Thor recently did exactly the same thing, so he's taken a lot of those videos and hacked them up. But in the earlier sections, you've got him going through all the NASA documents where they're telling various engineers and various different whatevers to treat the world as flat and stationary. Earth is considered flat and stationary in these calculations. NASA headed.
Well, NASA knows how the sextant works.
Yeah, so do we. It's devastating. There'll be something else. There'll be something else in 2022 that's equally as devastating as the Black Swan and the Sextant. It's coming.
Oh no, it's Nathan. There's so many tentacles from the sextant. When you get a free time, I need to show you because they're coming, and it's just an avalanche, and it's all based on the sextant. So. Sextant might go into 2022.
I don't doubt it. It will, without doubt, same as the Black Swan has,
Well, QE rightfully renamed my slide "The Age of the Sextant."
Well, like the horizon mirror, they keep on saying the horizon's refracted. So why would you be pointing a mirror at an optical illusion? How do you get coordinates from an optical illusion? If that's the case?
You don't. That's what I held a virus over the barrel for and shouted at him and berated him on a mass scale. I trimmed that out and published it yesterday in case anyone wants to check it out. I think I called it something like the Black Swan and the Guillotine Cord. But yeah, when they're describing how a sextant works, in this case a Kumu virus, he's describing how it works on a flat plane, because that is how it works. So when it comes to him using the word horizon, he wouldn't even say it. And when he finally did, he's like, yeah, okay, horizon, what's the problem? That's what we're pointing the horizon mirror at when we're establishing this straight flat baseline. And when he said that originally, we welcomed him to Flat Earth for it. So it's all primed for him to go, well, okay, horizon, not a problem. Meaning not a problem for me on a sphere to have a straight flat baseline to a geometric debunked sphere edge. Black Swan was precisely what he got told.
You could see they're desperate because they started off, and this was, I brought just enough about it because I wanted to, like I said, set a trap. So people say, oh, you're clever. No, it's not clever. I want to know how they're going to respond, and the response they give me is the trap. So here's the early view of their responses. All you got to do is read the Sextant manual, and you'll know that the way the flat earthers are representing the sextant is wrong. So that was like the very first one, and they're still pushing that one. Now I'll just keep it on that one, because what John just said is that the horizon mirror in the Sextant manual is called the horizon mirror for a purpose, because you're supposed to aim it at the horizon. So the Sextant manual says aim the sextant at the horizon, horizontal, flat, straight, so that you can achieve an angle. So the very thing they're saying is actually doing a number on them. Because show me where in the Sextant manual it says you're aiming it from the center of the Earth in actuality. See, they put that in your head, that the measurement's coming from the center of the Earth, because that's the only place on the two-dimensional circle they can get a vertex. They know they can't get a vertex on the surface of the Earth to form an angle. So guess what they got to say? You're getting the angle from the center. Okay, fine. That's what you're telling me. But how's the tool used, and where is it being operated? On the surface or the center? Well, it's on the surface. Okay, Well, can they give me an angle with a curved line underneath? Well, no, forget that, because we're really taking it from the center. Oh, so you're presupposing that you live on a sphere and you make the sextant inoperable by using it on the surface where it's curved. These guys are fools.
Right. Owen described it as them saying, no, you can't take this angle measurement from the deck of your boat. No. You've got to tie an anchor to it and drop it to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. You literally cannot make this measurement on a globe. And even when they try and justify how the measurement relates to a globe after it's made on a flat plane, it's the only way you can get two straight lines for an angle. They will tell you that you physically can't have been holding the sextant to measure the angle.
It's even worse than that, because the rebuttal to that will be that, you know, it's such a massively, infinitely large sphere that, you know, the parallax is negligible. Well, then why would you correct for a dip angle if the parallax was negligible? You know, it becomes double speak.
Well, it becomes farcical. You're absolutely right. If you're going to correct for the angle versus your height above the deck that's got a straight line to make it purely geometrical in terms of the measurement, you're not going to then wish away any inaccuracies by saying, oh, well, they're infinitely distant, so it doesn't really matter. It's like, whoa. No, the more precise you get, the more accurate the tool is. If you assume and utilise the ground as it actually presents itself, that would be flat.
Brian, from Brian's logic, put it the best. To make it geometric, you have to do the dip correction. Now, they can say whatever they want about dip correction they want, but it's basically taking your eyeballs and putting it on the surface of the water. So if you're 14 feet above the water on a sailboat using a sextant, you got to it's always a subtraction in the sight reduction. So you always got to do that. So that baseline is straight so that you can have a vertex. You are the vertex. So that means that altitude, that elevation of the sun, 3,000 miles away, has a zenith, a plumb line, directly over the Earth, touching the Earth at that place. And you're 3,000 miles away, and when you do a dip correction, you're making that baseline straight to that GP of that sun or star, 3,000 miles. Guess what? You also are a GP because you're somewhere on the Earth, and that's what you're trying to figure out. Once you know where the sun is, then you can figure out where you are on the Mercator map with the longitude latitude coordinates, because they know where the stars are based on this grid over a flat plane. So you have a zenith and you have a GP. Now, that's what I've just been waiting. It's just, I think I need a little more time for them to bury themselves more.
No, I completely agree. One of my favourite moments of 2021 will be that episode where Brian told us off. Because Brian's really, you know, he's a well-mannered, cool-tempered guy, and not often do I hear Brian getting his blood boiling. But on that day it did. And why? Well, because we didn't get it. Or I didn't get it. I know you got it 10th, but I got it, but I didn't see the significance or importance. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You know, so you take off 12 feet because your boat's 12 feet high off the water, who cares? You know, it doesn't really matter, and half the time they don't do it because it doesn't, you know, you don't need that level of accuracy. You'll get within 10 miles if you didn't do it, so who cares? And that was my attitude, because it's true. Brian's point was lost in my sort of demeaning of the point. It becomes pure geometry when you make that correction. And what do we mean by that? Well, it then doesn't factor in anything to do with you or your boat. You just become, as 10th Man just described, you become the vertices of that angle. Your feet being on the floor and a straight, flat line to the GP of the star. Now, both of those 2 points, i.e. the GP of the star and the GP of you, have both got 90-degree angles at them. They make the bottom of a box, so that you can draw a line from you to the star to make a triangle to do your trig. Well, when you have that geometric certitude, i.e. because I've made this correction to the ground, I'm now, in my geometric calculation, perfectly flat and level and straight from me to, as 10th used a second ago, I'll use the same figure, 3,000 miles away, to wherever the point on the ground below that star is. There's a straight flat line with two 90 degrees at both of them at that point. Once you make the dip correction, i.e. correct for your height above the ground. Now, like I say, Brian knew the significance of that. It's really, really important. You know, that turns it into pure geometry. And I didn't get that point, which I didn't at the time, Brian knew how important it was to stress it so much and make sure we understood the significance of it at the end, even if he had to get angry to do so. And he did. And it's like, that was a real penny drop moment. Oh yeah, bloody hell. You know, now you've got your two 90-degree points for you and your zenith, and the star and its zenith. GP, sorry. At its zenith. So you've got a 90-degree on both points. Well, what does that mean? Well, between both points is flat and level. The Earth is flat. There's no other way for this to work.
That's why I like asking them what is acute angle. I mean, because they claim the sextant is a 60, so it's obviously acute. And if it's an acute angle, they have to then concede that it comes from a 90-degree angle. You cannot get an acute without having a 90-degree. Simple.
Nathan, I'm putting together a few slides. When I'm ready, I'll ask you to share them in Master B. So keep the conversation going.
Yeah, you have to be patient with me. I've still smashed the PayPal link, by the way. Help me pay for repairs on my equipment, because I'm running on, I can't remember the exact fraction now. I think it's 2/5, that's right. 2/5 of my original real estate that I need to run the show. So I've got a busted projector, and in case you don't know, I'm running it on something that was kindly donated by Adam Meakin, but it's still a right faff to actually move things around with that little screen real estate. So I've got hundreds of things overlapping each other. So just bear with me when you do. Also, smash the PayPal link to support this channel.
Well, I think it's interesting that the complacency about Brian's point is actually the baller's position on that point. You know what I mean? It's almost like we're indoctrinated early to not even think about it.
I just hadn't seen the geometric significance of it. You know, the 290 degrees, once you've got both of them, in other words, once you've made the correction Brian was so keen to stress, and rightly so, you've got a box. You've got the bottom of a box. And I've got you and your zenith, that's 90 degrees to the ground once you make the correction. And the star at its GP, 90 degrees to your position also. Bottom of a box, basically. And then what you're trying to figure out is the angle for you with your sextant versus the star that you're measuring against the horizon mirror, which is giving you a flat baseline. So you've got a flat baseline and an angle to a star or the sun. That's it. It is really basic once you know how. It's not. You've got to wrap your head around it to give concise, detailed summaries. And in giving such concise, detailed summaries from 10th, certain points are going to get lost on us that, you know, Brian was keen to stress because they are worthy of stressing, and he did stress them. And I'm glad he did. Like I say, that's my favourite moment probably of 2021. Because you obviously have to have all of your hard work leading up to that, and Brian's for that matter, to have the understanding disseminated to us to miss the subtlety of a point like that. But the lead up to that point, and to see it as a really, really strong argument for me to put hand on heart and say this is probably my favourite flat earth proof to date, one that I'll quite happily parrot off if someone says, how'd you prove it? Well, sextant proves it. But missing that subtle detail. So it's like, yeah, so there's still plenty to learn on the sextant.
Okay, I'm ready with those slides. Just tell me which one and I'll start the commentary.
Well, I've got it on my local screen. Tell me which one you want first, and I'll try and line it up.
You can show the one with the boat and the right angle triangle over a curved ball that can't work.
Okay.
All right, audience can see it now.
I can. It just looks a bit of a mess. Just you start. I've got it on the celestial.
No, I see it. Okay, I see it because I got my iPad next to me as well. So, okay. So as you can see here, this is from a navigation site, and they believe the Earth is a ball. So this is their slide. I didn't do anything to the slide. That's not my drawing. So he's got a boat representing somewhere on the Earth on a curved surface, and then he's got an actual representation of how the right angle triangle goes to the GP of the sun. As you can see there, the sun with that zenith position is not aiming at the right place on the surface of the curve there. It's just kind of at an angle to it. It's almost like teeter-tottering. So everyone would laugh at this picture because you can't get this right angle on any curved surface, obviously, because the baseline of the right angle triangle is straight and the surface it's on is curved. So it is not representative of anything mathematical to be true here. All right. The next slide, I think you see globe Earth right angle, and the one next to it is a depiction of the true right angle on the horizontal. Do you see that one? Yeah, perfect. So I think Adam did this one or someone did this one. You see, it's over right here. Sextant can't do what the curved picture to the left says it can do. It can't do that. It can only do what the one on the right says. And the previous picture shows the comical or the comedic view of how silly it is for the globers to use the sextant to prove the globe. It actually does the opposite. Next slide. It'll show two circles of equal altitudes intersecting at two parts. And these circles are different radiuses. Let's say one is 3,000 miles from the GP to the navigator on that boat, where line of position is. Say the circle to the right is 2,000 radius miles. Well, that's 3 and 2, and there he is. All have to be flat because that's the fix. So he's triangulated himself because he knows where he is based on the previous day's log of dead reckoning and longitude, latitude on the Mercator map. Next slide. You can see here, it's exactly the way a sextant is computed, a right angle triangle. You see the star or sun's GP, and that's a straight vertical plumb line zenith right over that part of the Earth, okay? And you could see that the apparent position and the difference in altitude has to be figured out, because first you have to assume where you are based on your dead reckoning. And you're basically saying, I'm here, but I know I'm wrong. So let me shoot that sun and go to the books and see what those numbers tell me. And if those numbers tell you plus or they tell you minus, then you adjust for your position. And that way you locate your intercept the way where you are. Now, the next slide is what I really want to get to. This is done by this. I forget about the curved line underneath because they want you to think it can happen on a curved surface. That yellow arrow is not curved in reality, because you can't have this box with two right angles if that bottom line was curved. So this slide is a mess already. But let's use it because it does show what I want to show here. And what is that? That it's a 90-degree, so right angle, and it's a 60-degree shot with the sextant. So you minus 60 from 90, and since 1 degree is 60 nautical miles on the Earth's surface, your co-altitude is 30 degrees. 30 degrees times 60 is 1,800 nautical miles. Do you see how the zenith position is over the observer as a right angle? So if you were where the sun was, it'd be the reverse. But in order to get your co-altitude, you have to have a right angle of where the sun is first. And then the two zeniths are important because the co-altitude used here by establishing your zenith, because you're somewhere on the Earth, and that has to be straight, or else you can't have this slide. This slide destroys the globe, and yet they think they could trick us by making the bottom line curved. Does everyone see it?
Yes.
It's over. It can't work if you're going to use the co-altitude and convert that into nautical miles.
You're getting more and more slick with it. Got to keep banging that drum. excellent stuff. Did you want me to
Oh, Nathan,
pop
it
anything else
is
up?
only beginning. It is only beginning. Yeah, this is why I need you and me to talk. I have to show you things. It's going to get far worse for them.
Well, thank you very much.
This is why I waited. This is why I waited. Brian jumped it, but I'm okay with Brian jumping it because I wanted that dip correction to be a trap, and it worked well because Bob bid on it.
Yeah, props. Keep them coming.
Yeah, it's funny in his diagram, he'd had the HOR, the HOR, it was supposed to be horizontal, you know, and then he had a horizon below it, but that isn't how you use a sextant.
No, his globe fantasy horizon is below the one you're actually pointing at with the sextant.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, like he's introducing two horizontals. It just doesn't make sense.
I'm going to relabel when it's time that HOR is going to stand for horror because they just did themselves in with, well, yeah, at least he did. He did himself in with that one. Let's put it that way.
I mean, the guy wouldn't even acknowledge that he had a radius in his diagram. That's how bad it's gotten for them.
He had a circle he couldn't define. He had two radiuses he wouldn't acknowledge. And there's much more. He says, I'm not here to define geometry. Well, you're using it. So we need you to define it. No, I'm not here. I want to use it, but don't hold me to it. Let me say whatever I want to say.
Look, I was trying to explain parallels. He couldn't really. That's his way of trying to beat around the bush to just, how can I put, get his gullible followers to believe him. It's all. It's just a metric.
Yeah, it seems like everything comes back to bendy-zonal, doesn't it? For them.
The funny thing is that now that I go, because I'm constantly searching for new information on this topic, and guess what I'm seeing? I'm seeing Bob's latest part 1, part 2, part 3 sextant videos popping up. And I'm saying, this is glorious. This is fantastic. Because now it's a matter of record. And he is saying things in his videos that no one else says in their videos. Keep them coming, Bob.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's going to be no one out there to back them in their anti-flat Earth rhetoric when it comes to the sextant.
The minute they admit, and they all do, Virus did it on the last show, it's an angle measuring device, then you must define what an angle is. Show me an angle with a curved bottom, please, somebody.
Yeah, they can't.
He
It's
tried
game
the
over.
bendy-zonal.
No, not bendizontal. No. Bendizontal's not going to give you 90 degrees.
Geodesics.
Geodesics, what, fourth dimensional space-time bending? Yeah, no, we're talking about the geometry of angles. Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Go ahead, Chaos.
No, I'm just stating what Virus was saying, that geodesics is a straight line on a globe, and it matters, but it really doesn't. It's not 4D.
Well, don't get distracted by that, please. You say, fine. Now show me how a sextant can measure that geodesic.
It doesn't. It measures flat at all times.
So you
and
can't
then you have
use
to put
the
in for
sextant.
a hypothetical dip correction.
I'm sorry to interrupt there. So basically what you're saying is they can say anything in rebuttal, but then you'll say, well, how does the sextant work, and how is it confined to work only in this particular way? Can it do that? No. Okay, well then, bye-bye. That argument don't work, because you're saying that your navigators who believe in the ball Earth are using a tool that can only complement and verify a flat plane.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it's over. Now, if they want to prove a geodesic, find me a tool that can do it, because the sextant ain't the tool. Oh, but it's too late for that because they've been saying the sextant is a tool. Crickets.
Yeah, I'm hoping the longer pauses will encourage people who might be waiting for a gap in Discord to pipe up.
I love it. See, prior to this, they can call straight curved and fancy their way around reification and geodesics and forward space-time and just live in la-la land. You say, okay, well, is there a practical way you can actually prove this? Yeah, the sextant. Oh, really? And then when you break it down, the sextant shows them all to be liars.
Right.
They're all liars because sextant can't work that way. So don't bring geodesics, don't bring curved surface, don't bring anything unless you got two straight lines meeting where the observer is to create a vertex. Because if you bring anything else, you're either stupid or you're lying.
Hey, Chocolate.
Well, that's why I called him out on not knowing what the difference between an arc and a chord was that one day, or that he was trying to conflate them, because he really needs straight to be bent, like desperately.
Exactly.
Well, then get a different tool to measure bent because the sextant can't measure bent.
Well, I know that, but I'm just saying, to keep his worldview, he is desperately trying to hold on that, you know, those two things are interchangeable. That's why he wouldn't define the difference between an arc and a chord.
Well, let them try. Let them try all they want, but the tool itself is inoperable on a curved surface. And everyone would agree because their own definition tells you it needs a straight baseline. They're just going to...
I was going to say that is where it comes down to bendy horizontal and the fight that you'll see on Bev Try Thinking's channel almost daily, because this is this is not a new drum in that regard. Bev's been banging this geometric drum for a significant period of time, and I'm glad that in this regard our paths have converged. Because although I've tuned into Bev for a while, it's nice at the moment to be tuning in and hearing the same things, but they're not being said by Bev because he's hearing them on here. He's just coming at a completely different angle, but literally on the identical path that we're on currently. So there's a lot of is it symbiotic? Is that the right word? Maybe not.
Yeah, Bev's dealing more with theodolites, isn't he?
Sure, but the principles that are being argued about and the geometry is exactly the same in terms of how it's being argued. And he does occasionally have, I've seen a couple of shows where he's detailing the sextant as well with exactly the same arguments. Bev is, that's his shtick. What we're talking about now is very much Bev's shtick in terms of how he holds them over the barrel and then gets to the, with Akuma virus, it's the intrinsic curve of a straight line, and with them it's bendizontal. But those are just converging paths that we both happen to be, we're not even in the same group, but we just happen to be shoulder to shoulder with them at the moment.
We've got circle of
level.
Hold on 1 sec. 10th. Say again.
That's why they talk a lot about level being allowed to be a curved line, but we can treat it as a straight line for geometry's sake, but it's actually a curved line, and it's just craziness.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, it's straight, but we could pretend as though it's a curved line. That's what we're doing.
Just treat it as a straight line so we can do these mathematics, and then imagine it's all happening on a curved surface of a ball.
The problem is
Right, they actually work backwards.
The thing is, they're always using optical to try and reify the globe. Then they have to calculate the globe into the flat measurements.
Yeah, but the actual measurements that take place in...
the whole argument with...
I was just going to say, the measurements that actually take place in reality, as Alwyn described, with you throwing your sextant over the side of the ship so it sinks to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. In other words, when they justify it after the fact flatzoid, they physically can't have you holding the tool necessary to make the angle measurement anymore. It has to come from the centre.
Is there any magnification on the sight glass of a sextant? I've never used one, so I'm just asking.
Yes, you can have.
And
can have
how
just
far can you actually see with that? What is the distance?
It's. Let me explain quickly. You can have one without, and you can have one time, 2 times, 3 times. I don't know if it goes any more than that. That people like the 3 times for the evening shots of the stars because it's dark, so it helps see them better. But it's not much more than that.
Can I just regale the person who's asking the question with a story that 10th Man told me? So he explained that he was, I can't remember where he got this information from, but somebody was explaining that if it's a crappy day and, you know, as a result, obviously you're going to have a much closer horizon because you can't see very far, but there's still a point in the distance. And as I had explained to me and as it was explained to 10th, well, the question arose, well, what do you point the horizon mirror at in that circumstance? And the answer was whatever you can see. In other words, whatever the distance, regardless of if you can see the horizon at a massive distance or really close to you, you still just point it at that. Because this horizon that you're going to be experiencing is an optical phenomena. So you're just trying to establish horizontal using an optical phenomena. And then applying that fact that you can acquire horizontal with your eyeball to the ground after a correction that corrects it to the flat plane that you're actually standing on. So you're just utilising a principle. Where the horizon is kind of, well, where it is isn't relevant. It's, you know, you're talking about an optical phenomena that can change with the weather. So, you know, I don't know why the questions come in terms of what zoom capabilities you have, because I don't think it really helps. Maybe it makes it more accurate. Maybe 10th Man will correct me and say, no, if you've got 2 times or 3 times, it'll make it much more
pretty
accurate.
much always perpendicular from plumb, though? Pretty much?
Hang on. The telescope, you're aiming at the luminary. You're sighting the horizon for your baseline. That's all. I mean, that's what you need, the horizon, so that you can set your vertical. If you don't have the horizon, you don't know what your vertical is. It's
right,
a 90
and I was
degrees.
asking for the distance. Is if
not
on that day you can see further than the geometric horizon, doesn't that already say something using the sextant?
Yeah, that black swan basically is what you're saying. Correct. But what
Right,
geometric
right.
horizon? Exactly. Good point.
That's what I was going to say. What geometric horizon?
Yeah,
No,
that was
that's
my
what
point.
he's saying.
If
Hold on.
you can see further with the sextant on a clear day, say it's the clearest day you've ever had in your entire life, and you can see past the geometric horizon using a sextant, well, there blows everything. It's already bust.
Yes, correct. What you're doing is he's tying the arguments together and saying you can see a black swan in a sextant is basically what he's saying. And yeah, you're right.
Right. That's
Right.
exactly what I'm saying.
But you can't, because sextant is not a P900. It can't bring it in. That's not the point. The point is the
No,
sextant.
but if you could see past, the observer's height times 1.2 squared, you're already past the geometric. Whether you're 100 meters or 1,000 meters, or 1,000 miles, you're already past it.
It is a good point. Hold on, 10th. Hold on. I just want to re-stress it. I'm not doing a Brian or anything, but it's not. Anyway, he's saying if you're on the ground, you're a couple of inches off the ground with your sextant. Let's say you're doing the observation and you happen to be where BLMS B69 was. So Bo's on the ground with his sextant rather than his P900. But you're saying with 3 times 3x you couldn't see 2 little specks in the distance with the horizon beyond it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Me? Is it me or him you're talking to?
Saying to you, with a 3x, would you get nowhere near even being able to make out what Bo zoomed in on with a P900 when he's got that particular black swan? In other words, are black swans only in fact capable of being attained with super zoom cameras, or is it the case that a couple of inches off the ground, when you do the maths in the optics of a sextant to make this guy's point make sense, you could still just about make out those oil rigs?
Okay, see, the reason this is not working in my mind right now is this. So let me explain it, and then it's not what it's for. What it's for, because there's a address book of all the navigational stars, total of 64 for the aviators and just under 200 for the mariners. But even the mariners like the Air Almanac because it's the most prominent stars. So 64 of them. And they each have an address for every hour, minute, second of the day on this plane that we live on. So when you bring out the sextant, whether you're 10 feet above the water or you're 1 foot above the water, or in this case, 1 foot above the water and the sand, you're right at the beach at Miramar Beach. You still got to take that 1 foot down in your dip correction, because what it does, it runs a straight line all the way to the GP of that star, 3,000 miles, 5,000 miles, 4,000 miles, whatever it is, in the address book. Forget the black swan in the sense of what a P900 can show you. The sextant, like I said, I think John helped me here a little bit because it comes out of my mouth the way I think. It just plows through refraction. It just plows through everything, is what I said. Meaning, it's got to be flat and straight all the way for 3,000 miles, no matter what you see.
Yeah. I made that disclaimer. I'm not trying to decry Brian's point in any way. Brian's point being that you've got a straight line with two 90-degree angles, one for the star's GP and one for you and your zenith. Well, that gives you a box. Once you've made the dip correction, it cuts through refraction because it's no longer dealing with refraction. It's making it geometric, right?
Right.
This guy's just saying, in theory, if you could see the horizon beyond where they claim a geometric limitation to your view will stand because you're on a sphere, then technically you could see the horizon beyond the geometric limitations. That's all a black swan is. So you could, in theory, see a black swan in a sextant. And we're into the minutiae that doesn't really matter. Theoretically, yes, you could.
Okay, if you're saying it that way, then I could see a black swan with my own set of eyes on a good day.
Correct. Yes, you can.
That was his point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's no biggie.
Yeah, that's all he's making as a point.
Yeah, I can't say that the 3 times X can even come close to the P900s where I was stuck.
No, sure, I get that. It's not a tool for zooming in a lot. That's not what it's for. You're just trying to establish a horizontal with the horizon mirror. That's all you're doing.
Well, as an anti-flat earther, shouldn't they be enraged saying you're not pointing the horizon mirror at the horizon? You're pointing it at a refracted mirage of something else and just off into space.
I see what you're saying. What you're saying is they should be outraged at the claim even being in existence from the sextant because it stands in violation of their claim in terms of their belief in geometry with Earth curve edges. Therefore, what do you mean you're just going to point the sextant at the horizon? That's nonsense, because the horizon's falling away from you because we're on a sphere Earth. So this sextant nonsense, this is just antiquated rubbish. They never really got where they needed to go with this tool, is what they should be crying, right? Instead, they're going, no, when you measured your 1 degree to Polaris and backed away 69 miles and then measured a degree drop towards the horizon, you're actually not holding the sextant. The sextant was at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth and the stars were infinite distance away. Look at my maths.
Right. Yeah, that's... I don't know. That their responses to this have been so just lost.
Weak,
Pathetic.
poor, crappy.
Pathetic.
Yeah, it's like sounds like a kid trying to defend Santa Claus to you, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
it does. But bearing in mind that when they're doing that, they're not fighting us. They're fighting their own cognition and their own cognitive dissonance. They think they're fighting us. They're not.
Well, this is why I'm waiting for someone other than Fallacy Bob. Now, that may come, it may not come, because maybe they're too smart to do what Bob did. But Bob already said something that I caught that he doesn't know I caught. Because, when you study this for 2 years almost, there's stuff, it's just in my head because I've been studying it. I've got hundreds of dollars worth of books here. Plus, I got beautiful German-made sextant. And I've watched all the videos. And when someone says something, just like this last incident, something gets, in my mind says, nope, that don't work because of this, and that. So when Bob came on and did what he did, he gave us the best gift ever. But I didn't call him out on it because I want to get it from another baller. And when I get it from another baller, that may be the time to spring it.
Right, quick shout out to, hope I say this right, is it Udada? Hopefully I've said that correctly. It says horizontal, the first entry in the baller's list of forbidden words. Yeah, add 90 degrees to that. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Adam. Good to have you.
Hey,
Good to have a show. Thanks to you.
Good to be able to join the show.
I got in touch with Adam over the weekend. I'd already thanked him profusely, but I got him back in touch after thanking him profusely to thank him even more profusely, because I was sat there on, I can't remember if it's Saturday or Sunday, going, I'm quite relaxed today. And the reason was simple, because I wasn't fretting about not being able to produce the show and having things that are needing repair but just sat in front of me, you know, things like that. I'd got it all sorted by the weekend, and even on a Friday had a show, because I'd nipped over to Adam's and picked up a projector, which is brilliant, because it means, albeit in a very limited, very clunky fashion, if you're wondering why the show has got slightly crappier audio or slightly crappier visuals, that's why. I'm just running on slow motion because I've got to fiddle around to find things on the screen, but I can actually do the show, which means I didn't stress and fret about it all weekend, and that is purely down to purely down to Adam, which is why you got the extra thanks, Adam. So I'm fresh, happy.
Whilst I've got a bit of goodwill, then could I just do a quick shout out? I've known somebody came to see me this week. Flat Earth is spreading, basically, and a patient of mine, Tracy, I've known for years. The topic kind of varied over onto Flat Earth, and she was like, "No way, my brother absolutely loves Flat Earth. He watches that Nathan Oakley all the time." So we ended up getting in touch, and he came in, and I gave him a load of bits of memorabilia and the likes. And I just wanted to give him a shout out. So he's about my age. He's Peter. So shout out, Peter. And also his son's full on Flat Earther as well, and that's Aaron. So shout out to Peter and Aaron, two more Flat Earthers in Nottingham, and it was really good to meet you guys. We sat chatting for quite a while. So yeah, Peter and Aaron, respect. Keep it flat, brothers.
Oh, well, that's very nice to hear. Well, thank you for listening, Peter and Aaron. I really appreciate your support. Please share the show. Good stuff. Love to hear it.
But it's mad when things like that happen. You know what I mean? And he actually came in to see us because, oh, you're part of the panel, and you know, it's kind of surreal in a way. But nice to know we're impacting out there, mate. As like I say, I've known this lady for years. And then to find out, you know, her brother's been into it. He used, like me and you, he used to be big space heads into all that sort of sci-fi and astronomy he was into. And it's that real honest interest in it that you pursue as you try and seek more truth that finally convinces you it's bunkum, innit? And again, that was a kind of his similar tale to us, you know.
I'm nodding along while you're saying it, thinking, yeah, exactly the same here. Although you did qualify that as us.
I could tell that brought a big smile to your face, Adam. That's tremendous.
Yeah. It's nice because I keep my Flat Earth flyers and that on the counter just in case anyone's ever interested. But it's really cool when somebody does come in. And like I said, it's an impact, you know, it's real, you know, it's not just sitting about on YouTube, but somebody out there watches YouTube, watches and then could be asked to come to the chemist to say hello because, you know what I mean? And just, yeah, cool.
Yeah, it is. It's heartwarming. And I would imagine that these people aren't massively stressed and concerned about this like our anti-flat earth counterparts.
Very, very happy, relaxed man. The very happy, relaxed son. Who had a big grin because I asked him, I guess, so you a flat earther as well? And he just looked at me and had this, just with a huge grin, like, yeah. So,
yeah, it is something to be smiling about when you don't have to concern yourself that saying those words might result in ridicule from the person who's never heard of the subject and definitely won't have any sympathy for you in that regard. They'll just revert to the automatic brainwashed position that they feel that they should take in that situation and immediately demean and ridicule you. So the knowing grin comes when you go, I don't have to concern ourselves with that then. Oh, wonderful. Now, once you're past the sociological aspects of the ridicule of flat Earth, I would say, I've got to put that qualifier in, that most people are a lot happier for it. In other words, the cosmology, if you want to look at it from that, purely from that perspective, doesn't leave you stressed and strained. Whereas currently, there's a lot of people who come on the show who go, where are all the ballers? Well, just no, we've had a few accounts from people like Anthony Riley, who keeps his ear to the ground a hell of a lot more than I do, that these people are far too stressed to engage us. In other words, these people, when I say to Arwin, I'll take a couple of days off a week, Arwin, you know, or you'll burn out, I'm only talking to him on a YouTube level. You know, I'm not talking to him like he should be concerning himself with the cosmological impacts of flat Earth at this point in his life. Not at all. It doesn't even come up. You know, it's more like, you know, this is how you need to, you know, pace yourself for YouTubing, because that's the primary concern. Now, I don't know if anybody will raise their hand when I ask this question, but Neil's not here. Oh, he is. Maybe Neil will raise his hand. We'll see. Who's stressed about this? Who's stressed about the turnaround? Maybe it's a length of time thing, but anybody here is going to say, yeah, actually, you know, I lose a lot of sleep over this now. I'm a flat earther.
What?
Well, I think the stressful part is. Sorry.
I think you're hearing sounds of shock and awe from was it Chocolate? I didn't look over.
No,
Yep.
I heard my name mentioned.
Yeah, I'm saying you sometimes express your pain. Now, you're newer to this subject than a lot of the people on the panel, if I'm honest, Neil, from memory. You're one of the newest to the subject. And you're not new to the subject. But by the same token, you're still dealing with family aspects, conflict aspects, and, you know, you want, on a social level, people to find out on a more mass scale because of its, you know, its perceived impact on you. I can only read between the lines, and, you know, generally when we rib you about it, you don't disagree. So with that in mind, I've said that maybe you will raise your hand, and when I say who's stressing about this, who's losing sleep over this, in the same way I know from reports from people with their ear to the ground that they are very stressed about this, and this is just a bit much for them to take at the moment. That's why it's very quiet.
Oh, I agree, but I'm not losing sleep.
This
Fair
why we've not heard from the Rumpus. Is he in the Priory or something?
It's not about Rumpus. I banned him when he started lying. You know, there's a line that you draw with people like that.
I heard through the grapevine that Rumpus is running around saying, not crazy man, but he destroys you on every argument. That's why you changed it up.
Oh, what a shock. So you're saying he lies about why he's not allowed to come back? No, he's not allowed back because we caught him in a lie in terms of where the geometric horizon claimed to be a physical limitation to your view back in the days of the Isle of Man discussion. Quote, you know, it's refracted because of its position with respect to the horizon, end quote, the Rumpus, was then declared to have always been refracted. I always refracted it, even back then. He lied. I called him on his lie, played his lie back to him, gave him a couple of opportunities to redeem himself and take back his lie, which was clearly obvious. Now, after a few chuckles and denials of his lie, he repeated the lie and just continued playing it that way. Dedicate yourself to the lie and don't ever turn back. Well, sod you, you're just not going to do that here. When I've caught you in a lie and it's obvious and I can then trim out a concise video and show you lying, and I showed videos with Rumpus lying with the thumbnail of a pair of pants on fire, just in case you want to look it up for yourself. You know, but at that point it's like, no, we're dealing with just scum of the earth. They will deceive you. More than willing to overtly lie. In other words, lie through their back teeth to your face. No, I don't want to deal with that. That is stressful. I don't want to, you know, whenever you... My advice to you, if you're dealing with a narcissist or just a liar, you just turn your back on them. That's it. Don't involve yourself in them. If they're involved with some of your friends that they try and triangulate you through them with, unfortunately, you have to disassociate yourself from them too, which is unfortunate. And there's been lots of good friends I've had to disassociate myself with because they're involved with some lying piece of shit narcissist that I just don't want any part of. Now, that's a tough choice to make sometimes, but, you know, it's easier to relate when it's actually on a broader scale. So if you talk about NASA, I don't watch NASA, I don't watch SpaceX, I don't watch these lying pieces of shit. They're just lying through their back teeth all day long about what they're doing and where they're doing it. So just don't watch. Don't involve yourself with it. That will cause you stress. Anyway, I'll get off my high horse. Anybody got any comment?
Yeah, well, then you get people that come and try and get your attention because you ignore them. That's all that happens.
Well, as I say, Rumpus is the kind of person that will just lie through his back teeth about everything. That's why he's banned. So the fact that he's lying and saying he's not coming because he just demolishes me, okay, yeah, that's pretty much what I would expect from a liar. And he's a proven liar, a demonstrable liar. And he's lying about the fundamental nature of the Earth. That's the nature of the debate we're having, i.e. Earth curve, in this instance, the geometric horizon, the physical obstruction to your view at the Isle of Man, as claimed back then, and now the refracted, and I always refracted it, horizon now, which he's having to lie about. Well, at the point that you lose, if you've just got to lie, get lost. Yeah, you've lost.
I like to
He
comment
doesn't
on
even
this.
admit the lie to himself.
He's lying to my audience at that point, and I know he is and can prove he is, and I don't want to subject my audience to that. I know they're lying, we point out that they're lying, but having me publish them lying to me and me tolerating it is just a step too far for me personally. Some people still put up with that crap. That's obviously their bag, not mine.
It's a behavior that they show because the whole subject is like living rent-free in their head. It's bothering them so much that they do all these antics and hate and all kinds of like what happened with Flatzoid, with them coming after him. Well, you've had some decent normies come on the show and, oh yeah, based on that, you're right, they'll say. And it's a back and forth, a nice conversation. Then when these anti-flat earthers come, I mean, it's just terrible. It's because the whole thing is the subject is rent-free in their head and their conscience is bothering them.
And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the PayPal link, as I've got a projector bill to follow. Also joined as a Nathan Oakley channel member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!